Thank you guys so much. Really excited to be here. Just a quick introduction. My name is Lele. I'm head of growth and infrastructure at Near Foundation, and very excited for the panel on new economies in the sustainable world. So let me just kick it off. To start the day, I would love you guys to all introduce yourselves. Tell us a fun fact about yourself. So let's start.
Great. Good to be here. Can everyone hear? Yeah. So, pleasure to be here. I'm Emiliano, co-founder, CEO of Raiz Vertical Farms. Fun fact, so that's personal trivia, right? I guess, I'm not sure how fun. I play the saxophone.
That's exciting.
Speak 5 languages, getting there.
Wow.
So yeah, just trying to keep the music and the fun and the flow on entrepreneurship and ReFi.
Okay, awesome.
Hi everyone, my name is Jakob. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Parity and a founding member of Pando DAO. What Parity is a community marketplace. We connect capital, talent, and opportunities with work and investments. And Pando DAO is a full stack solution for carbon credits. A fun fact, I have my first marathon coming up in LA.
Great. Hi, everybody, and thanks, Lele, for having me here. My name is Donato Russo, and I am the CEO and founder of Chainplug. As you might have understood, I am Italian, and the fun fact about me is that my name, I've lived in several places around the globe, and my name has been always, pronounced in a different way than what it is. So I've been Donato in France, I've been Donato in Germany, I've been Donato in Denmark, and in America, I've been Tornado, as you said, or Tomato, or Tornado. Well, just call me Don. It works in any language.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming from so many different countries and regions. I'd love to, just ask about your personal journey and into Web3, and would love to understand more about how your project or company is the best blend of ESG and Web3, and the use case that you guys are tackling.
Sure. So in terms of personal journey, I'm born and raised in Mexico, like Southern California. Been traveling around the world. Got into ReFi Web3 and climate action in 2018, working with renewable energy credits, which is something like also really interesting, and then went into vertical farming through that area. So how can we leverage clean energy and decentralized systems to bring more local food production that's sustainable, that's climate positive, and that can actually feed rising urban communities, right? In terms of ESG, I think ESG is or have been great guidelines towards operation and being conscious about environment, society, and governance. But I think we can take it even one level further in terms of regeneration. So all the whole ReFi movement beyond ESG, that could be in a way just a metric, right? It's about how do we really build community? How do we really take the natural assets and urban assets into something that creates impact for people and the environment, right? In our case, I would say we're building the infrastructure to finance, scale, and trace vertical farms and allow communities to grow their own food in a more sustainable manner, right? So I would say there's like different components in the environmental side, using less resources, less water, less energy, less land, and the social side. Of course, building community by bringing people together to grow their own food, we see that that's an amazing way to build connections with people and with nature. And on the governmental side, I think that's also where, for example, the DAO infrastructure or the blockchain infrastructure can allow us to really coordinate incentives and build a more resilient governance systems for a whole new food system, decentralized food system. So happy to go deeper into that, but in a nutshell, that's a bit of it.
So my journey is, I'm Eritrean. I was born and raised in the States, and I moved back to the continent about a decade ago. So my entire adult life, pretty much. My journey into Web3 is with Pando DAO. So there's a huge fragmentation across the continent. Like, unfortunately, it's more like fiefdoms than it is information traveling through the continent. and we wanted to get the entrepreneurs together to tackle big problems. One of the big problems is that Africa has 65% of the world's arable land, but we're a net importer of food. That doesn't make sense. That just doesn't make sense. So for us to try to, I guess, call it like break even on calories, you have to think about how do you inspire more people to go into agriculture and farming. And when you look at the cities in Africa, the second biggest city in every country is roughly less than 30% population of the first big city. So a lot of people are moving into that one big city, and there's a lot of smallholder farmers, there's inconsistency in the food, and you just don't have enough quality control to actually feed people. And for us, we're starting much lower on the stack, where we want to be able to provide capital to actually do real farming for food and then juice up returns with carbon credits. And there's a lot of families that are losing, hands effectively. Their kids are moving to the cities, and we want to provide this entire stack for them to provide returns on the investment, but also be able to actually do a real solid business of growing food.
Well, my Web3 journey started in 2017 when with my friend Fred Mantegazza, in charge of technology, we started playing about the idea of using blockchain technology in real-world applications. And therefore, we realized that the big guys had already started creating consortia with loads of money, and we wanted just to have an idea and started from the bottom. So what we saw, it was three problems mainly. And these three problems were that one, blockchain is a very difficult subject to understand. The second problem is that the funds needed to develop applications in blockchains are much higher than normal applications. And the third problem we saw is that there was a lack of human resources, developers, to develop such technologies. Therefore, we decided that we had to focus on building, certification and census solutions for real-world applications, which could be used in the construction industry, in the textile industry, in the energy world, in the supply chain, so that we could have a very quick, efficient, and economic onboarding of any company onto blockchain and therefore Web3.
Awesome. Let's move on to obstacles. So what do you think are the biggest challenges that you face today, and how can we as a group help you overcome those?
I think one of the biggest challenges is still awareness of the industry. It's a really rising industry. I mean, the fact that we're here together, it's wonderful, and that this information and knowledge sharing is happening. That's key. I would say in terms of technology development, what Donato was mentioning, like building the data, sensors flow, and the infrastructure to connect on-chain, off-chain data, that's something that's getting there. And the more we have about it, it's better, right? And then it's also about, I believe, building the social network or bridging the whole incentive structure to create something climate positive, right? But the fact that it's happening right now, it's very exciting, right? So I would say just awareness, first challenge, and we're getting there with education, with more people, with interaction. Secondly, technological infrastructure, both hardware and software. That's something that's more on the technical side. And thirdly, implementation, right? We need solid projects launched and real impact happening so that we can prove, validate that, and then just scale it up at a larger scale. So those are three challenges that I think we're on track to solve, but we need really focused action to get there.
I would piggyback on the technology structure. So we have two different problems, actually three, similar. We have one is like the data capture, which a startup called Amini is in our DAO trying to solve that. Then there's like just solar power and irrigation to just get water to crops. Sun Culture is a startup within our DAO that's solving that. And then there's the bilateral agreements that you have to be able to sell these carbon credits and the efficacy that goes into that. And then there's just a lot of prejudice because you're in Africa, so everybody writes it off and everybody says it's not legitimate and all that. So like, if you have any advice on how to approach those conversations without having steam blow out of your ears, I'm all ears.
Well, the main challenges Chainplug is facing at this moment are, sustainable acceleration, also by means of financing its growth, to onboard companies because our technology is devoted to B2B applications and particularly to small and medium enterprises. So onboard companies and organizations in different industrial verticals. And the third problem we are facing is to generate revenues by facilitating blockchain adoption, also by means of our Web3 blockchain as a platform business model.
Okay, great. So looking forward, what do you think are some of the most exciting trends for you and also as you look into the market?
For me, the most exciting thing happening right now is what we're seeing flourish in this space precisely, the bringing of talent, technology, capital, and execution for climate-positive initiatives. I think for me, that's the most exciting thing happening, not only in the industry, but worldwide. How do we rearrange the incentive structure? How do we redesign systems to create a value flow that is nature and society inclined, right? So it's shifting from these extractive mechanisms into positive externalities, and that's what's happening within ReFi. So that's the trend that really excites me and that I'm looking forward to catalyze.
I would say the most exciting thing for us is you all proving it out in other markets, because usually that's what we use to justify the validity of the investment in Africa. A lot of times when you see it successful in the West, you're usually able to make that argument. And as there's more capital that has returns in other markets, there's going to be a longer tail opportunity in Africa, which, like I said, has the most arable land. So overall, we'll have a much bigger opportunity for returns on agriculture, carbon credits, and even just direct capital investments.
Well, the most exciting trends I see in the next few years are mainly three. The first one is a true and complete decentralization of sustainable blockchains. The second trend I see is the rise and wide adoption of the tokenization of ethical assets. And the third one is the affirmation of self-sovereign identities, SSIs, both of humans, things, and data. So all the above with the purpose of creating a more sustainable and fair world.
Okay, great. A few more questions, and feel free to tell me who wants to answer. So how do we think that economic models can help the sustainable transition? That's something, would you?
I think for us, it's, it always starts with solving real problems first. So as we're able to prove that there is a business model there that isn't so highly volatile that you're so concerned about losing your overall investment that you don't want to come, as we show those small increments of success, we actually have more confidence and belief to actually go into other avenues. And it just creates tremendously more jobs. Africa already is on track to have the largest population, the largest young population. The explosion in that alone creates economic activity that is unparalleled, that we haven't seen across any other continent. So I think that's really exciting for us. It's a huge problem or a huge opportunity. There's a fellow Panda member here. We had a meeting where we had Vitalik actually come to Kenya, and we hosted the central bank, the Minister of ICT, KRA, and when we discussed what opportunities that were out there, if we created, it was 35,000 jobs at 35,000 annually a year, that would increase the GDP of the country of Kenya by 1%. That's significant. That goes from you eating porridge for breakfast to you eating eggs for breakfast. That goes from you having maybe a couple school books for your children, or having all the books that you need for your children. It's you see the result so instantly, and it's so real and so tangible that we want to do a better job of communicating that and bringing more capital and making people want to participate in that opportunity.
Second, completely. And I believe in terms of new economies, it's also about what we value, right? So beyond being a capital extractive model, I believe we're going to start valuing more and more, for example, what's happening right now with natural assets, carbon, biodiversity. In our case, food grown to feed local communities, water saved, energy created. So it's about what we value as humans, as a society, that will create a whole new paradigm into what can be traded, what can be valued, how can we increase liquidity, scalability for climate positive assets that are not only focused on profitability. Of course, it's impact with profit, but it's about what if we value people fed that are actually dying of hunger? What if we value biodiversity? What if we value water, right? So once we start crafting and designing these incentive mechanisms around things that are truly valuable for us as society, as community, as planet, then we can design a whole new range of economic models floating around that. That's what really excites me around that. Here.
I may add something. New economical models like ReFi can help the sustainable transition at different levels. The first level, as an example, by prioritizing the well-being of people and the planet, by regenerating or restoring communities and ecosystems, rather than just extracting resources and create profits. The second way they could do this is by moving away from the traditional finance model that prioritizes short-term profits and shareholders' value, and instead focusing on creating long-term value for all stakeholders. And the third way that could help is by impact investing, which involves investing in companies or projects that have a positive social or environmental impact. However, ReFi can take this approach further by seeking to create systemic change and addressing the root causes of social and environmental issues. Overall, ReFi is an emerging field that is focused on creating a more sustainable and equitable financial system and promoting the well-being of people and the planet.
Okay, awesome. Just one more question, and then I'll ask for you guys for your concluding thoughts. But what do you think are some potential points of collaboration between projects and technologies?
Okay, sure. I was speaking with the other panelists here. I mean, it's pretty exciting. Just a quick use case potentially. Donato is building infrastructure to bridge, in a way, IoT sensor data from off-chain, for example, in our case, vertical farming, on-chain. So that's like a perfect use case. How do we bring the data of how much energy, water, land we're saving, consuming on-chain, and we create an impact token, impact data. Okay, that's there, and we can build a revenue stream out of that. Why don't we take it to Africa, right? Why don't we take this food production locally, less resources, etc., into a rising urban community in Africa so that they can grow their own food and save resources? So I think this potential collaboration, it's dreaming a bit here, but it's totally possible, no? That's what technology allows us to do. So I think between projects, I think that would be really nice. Nice goal.
I'm all about not having to learn things the hard way, so by all means, that would support that.
Yeah. No, as we were speaking yesterday, it was clear that blockchain has been used so far for the most evident use cases like green certificates or carbon credits, but by really thinking about data collected by IoTs, we can provide a new revenue stream to all the markets, to all the industries. Because in this way, as an example, we can have, by certifying the identity of the IoTs, we can generate certified data streams. And in this way, we can mint them with our technology into NFTs and sell these data, this first-hand, very valuable data, to different markets. As an example, research institutes, universities, research labs, analysts, and of course, this would create a whole new revenue stream for all the different industries adopting IoT on blockchain.
Awesome. Donato, I can't help but notice what cool shoes you have on. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh yeah, okay. I'm from Florence, Italy, and Florence is the hometown of fashion. Especially the girls here might know some names. I'm just dropping. Gucci, Ferragamo, Emilio Pucci. Shoes and bags comes from Florence. So in the innovation center where my startup, my company is in Florence, there was another startup of a guy on his own, a young guy, 20 years old. And I asked him, hey, what are you doing? And this guy is basically creating shoes from recycled materials. As an example, the sole here is all made of leftovers of wood, working. The leather here is made by leftovers of other leather production. So I told him, hey, I'm going to the Climate Summit panel. I need to have your shoes. I don't want to have a t-shirt with my company logo on top. I want to walk on sustainability and bring, and help to bring all this shaping up community into the future. So that's the story.
Awesome, I love it. All right, so maybe we just turn to one final concluding thought from everyone. If you could just give like one word or one sentence.
Maybe a bit more than a sentence, but just framing it back again. So we're enabling people to grow their own food, launch their own vertical farms, right? So if anyone is interested or resonates this like local food production, we're looking for technology partners to build their infrastructure. We're looking for investors to help us catalyze their growth. And we're looking for communities to launch their own farms, to have this more local, resilient food system. So we'd love to meet you all, and thanks for having us.
I guess my final closing thought, and I think this is for all of us, we're experiencing so much volatility, is to think in decades. Like, if you look at things in the short term, the volatility will make you feel like everything is upside down. But if you look at the arc, it's always getting better. But if you allow like the short term to influence your labor, you're going to, the returns from anxious labor is usually not going to be good. So like to try to think in decades and think long term, we'll probably have a lot better returns.
Well, my final conclusion thought is, looking at the industry. Small, medium enterprises account for around 99% of all the companies worldwide. So how are we going to help these companies to onboard blockchain technology and come into this ecosystem we're all shaping? So we really need to be supported by any kind of industry, so that in the end, any small company can give its own contribution for a better world and a more sustainable future.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really want to thank the Flowcarbon, OFP, and Celo team for co-organizing. I think there's an exciting day of panelists and events coming up. And if you guys want to hear more about personal stories or how you could collaborate, please come by and talk to our panelists later on today.
Thank you very much.